Sarah, with all due respect, you're an anime figure. But yes, hello, welcome, welcome. One and all, I don't know. It's time for more Chaos Head, though. Everyone's favorite, right? Just a little bit of psychological horror as a treat. Non-exclusive to October. I don't remember exactly what happened at the end of last stream, but there is a new gen case, which is exciting. That's definitely the set of words to use. But yeah, I guess we're finally gonna find out what the hell a NoAH is, because that's the name of the chapter. Which is very, very exciting. Yosuji Bond was finally released from the long task force meeting. He should have felt much better. But today, things were different. He walked away from the other detectives and toward the windowsill, where he called his junior partner. Suwa hadn't shown up for the meeting today. Bond had wanted to skip it too, so it didn't seem fair that Suwa got to. I'm concerned for his well-being, frankly. Suwa might not look like it, but he took his work extremely seriously. At least, that's what Bond had thought. So he was surprised when Suwa skipped today. He tried to get a hold of him several times, and there'd been no answer. Ever since Bond had talked to Momose 2 days ago, he'd had a bad feeling that wouldn't go away. And things had gotten even worse today. Not only was Suwa missing, when he brought up the GE rate during the meeting, Matsunaga had told him he was being ridiculous and needed to stop wasting everyone's time. Please don't let anything else happen. Bond sighed a little as he fanned his face. He heard the call being picked up and Suwa answered. Is that you? Okay, so who's alive thus far? You idiot. Where the hell are you? The connection was really bad. Bond wondered if Suwa had gone off somewhere deep in the countryside. Sorry. Ask... now. My own... Huh? What did you say? Where are you? Bond yelled. He stopped being able to hear Suwa at all. Instead there was a small period of nothing but static. Well, can you hear me now? Yeah. So, where the hell are you? I thought of something, so I'm out doing some questioning. Listen to me. Suwa shouldn't have been going off on his own. But Bond had a nasty habit of just doing that. Of doing just that, rather, is the correct word order there. He chuckled. Maybe his bad habits had rubbed off on his junior partner. I think I've almost got it. Incontrovertible proof. Okay, that is a big-ass word for no good reason. But anyways, proof of the real new gen killer's identity. The real killer? Bond's eyes went wide. I'm keeping it a secret for now. I might be wrong after all. Just get your ass back here. Got it? No, I'm gonna look around a little more. What? Hey, get back here. I'm fine. Leave it to me. Suwa? Suwa! Earthquake? Earthquake. Suddenly, the ground started to shake. An earthquake? The shaking got more and more violent. Bond couldn't even stay standing. He dropped to a crouch to keep from falling over. This is a big one. At first, the other detectives seemed unconcerned, but they soon realized the seriousness of the situation and began to crouch or hide under tables. The clock on the wall, the pens and paper cups on the table, the projector device, one after another, they fell to the floor with a crash. The 2 whiteboards in the conference room fell too. It was like a passenger jet that ran into a stream of turbulence. That's how it felt to Bond. Like his legs weren't even touching the ground. The shaking was spinning his body left to right. It was probably a 5 or 6 in intensity. Is this the next big one? And now of all times? Then Bon felt a strong shock, like someone punched him in the head. He moaned in pain. No one had physically punched him. It was just an incredible headache. Suddenly a scream filled the conference room. Bon gritted his teeth and looked up, and saw one of the local detectives had his hand pressed up against his head, trembling with pain. Then he fell helplessly to the ground, like a doll dropped by a child. Most of the other detectives were either wincing in pain, their hands against their temples or holding their heads. What was this headache? I never felt anything like it before. Did it have something to do with the earthquake? Bon had no way of knowing. Little by little, the shaking stopped. Bon looked outside, vision blurry. There was white light everywhere. It was so bright. Bon couldn't keep his eyes open. Just talk with me. You good, bud? Probably not. Oh no. Oh wait, will he be able to get out of his little thing? Or shit. I opened my eyes, feeling a pain so strong I thought my head would burst. I realized I'd fallen backwards into the middle of the room. I tried to get up, but when I did, the pain in my head spread throughout the rest of my body. I moaned in agony. After 5 minutes or so of writhing on the floor, the pain gradually subsided. I managed to use the bedpost as a support to climb back up. I wiped away the thick sweat on my brow. My room looked like it had been hit by a tornado. All of my wives had either toppled over or fallen off their shelf entirely. The bed was now tilted, and my manga and H-game boxes had fallen off it and scattered onto the floor. What had just happened? I picked up the phone and then heard Troyan say, and then had turned into what sounded like an ambulance siren. That's right. There'd been that buzzer sound, and then the low sound of the earth rumbling. Then it felt like my whole body had boiled and melted. I didn't remember anything that happened after that. My mind was a total blank. Was this some kind of electromagnetic wave attack by Shogun? Maybe Shogun could do the same thing as that system I'd read about in the patent. The idea terrified me. I looked up at the ceiling, still reeling from my headache. Of course, there was nothing to see. And my mind was being read. It was being read by a satellite high above me. Nah, there's no way. But from what Senna had said before, it sounded like the system in the pattern was already in use, and some people were using it for evil. If one of those people was Shogun. No, that was impossible. There's no way that could be true. The frail old man looked like he could die at any moment. There's no way he could have... He could have his own orbital satellite. Or was he at the center of some big government project? There's no point in starting a delusion scaring myself to death with it. It was clear something had happened, so I decided to look online to find out what. I crawled toward the computer, trying my best to ignore the pain in my head. Huh? I was sure I'd left my computer on. It should have been displaying the Save a Ton screensaver, but instead, the screen is black. I hadn't set it to go into standby mode automatically, so that shouldn't happen, but... My mind was still foggy. My whole body felt frail and weak. It took all my strength just to stand up. I grit my teeth to help me with the pain to try to move the mouse. Nothing. Next, I tried the power button. I mean doors. The hard disk started to whir and click. I slumped into my computer chair with a thud. While I waited for my computer to boot up, I reached out a desperate hand for my phone, which was still lying on the table. I looked at the time. Huh?
13時
1 p.m. What time had it been when I got that call? I remembered I was looking at information on Yase on 8chan. I tried to think and the pain just got worse. What time? Think. Remember. That's right. It wasn't even noon. It wasn't even noon yet. Which meant
1時間以上も
I was out for
気絶
over
し
an
てた
hour. Or had I been sleepwalking and been off wandering somewhere else for the past hour?
僕は
I don't
もう有病じゃない
sleepwalk. I shook my head before my brain could fill itself with more negative thoughts. When I did, the aching in my head made me feel like I would pass out. It was like my brain had been replaced by a lump of lead. I looked over at the PC monitor.
おい
Wait,
マジで
really? Could it be my hard disk was damaged? Oh yeah, because if it's like electromagnetic stuff being fucked around with, that would fuck a hard drive, huh?
嘘
No,
だ
it
そ
can't
んなの
be.
ありえない
This can't be
あっちゃ
happening.
ダメだ
It's
そ
the
んな
end
こ
of
とになっ
the
たら
world.
すべてが終わる
Gigabytes of saved XXX Moe porn. My saved data from my age games. My bookmarks from my daily browsing. My schedule that told me when to go to school. And more than anything, the most important thing in the world to me. My ESO save data. Was it all gone?
くそ
Damn it. I wanted to scream in rage. I wanted to pound my fist into the keyboard. I wanted to kick in the walls. More than anything, I wanted to see if it could be recovered right this very instant. But my whole body was still heavy and slow, and my head still ached. All I could do was lie back in my chair and bite my lip. It was over. My life was over. Even if it wasn't electromagnetic stuff and an earthquake could easily fuck up a hard drive, that's fair. The loss of my ESO save data meant my life no longer had any meaning. Nothing mattered anymore. My life was nothing but ash and dust. Somebody just kill me. Wait, Taku. Or Taki, rather. Sarah looked up from where she was lying sideways on my desk and gave me an angelic smile. Calm down. ESO is an online game. They keep all the saved data on the server, don't they? Server. Does she mean the game company server? So even if your PC breaks, my heart's data should still be there, right? No. Right. This is something every gamer knew. But I was so out of it that I'd forgotten. I felt like I found one small sliver of hope and missed the despair. Way to go, my wife. I hadn't made any backups of my Pixar MP3s, so I'd have to give up on those. It wasn't ideal, but I didn't have a choice. I still wanted to start reformatting my computer as soon as possible. I needed to see if my ESO data was safe with my own eyes. Of course, for that, I need this headache to go away. And the pain didn't feel like it was going away anytime soon. The big televisions outside Shibuya Station usually played commercials or promos for famous music artists. Today, however, they were showing a stern-looking newscaster. It was a TV show, with the following text at the top of the screen. Intensity 5 earthquake hits Shibuya, at least 200 casualties. Earthquakes are nothing special in Japan. There have been several earthquakes around a 5 on the scale even around Tokyo. But as more information started to come in, it became apparent that the number of casualties was abnormally high. There was a similar earthquake in 2005. Not a single person died. Compared to that, this is almost unbelievable. This was even more true when you consider that it had happened in Shibuya, the center of the New Den murders. There'd been an earthquake 3 months ago in Shibuya too. That had that one blah blah blah. That one had only been a 3 on the scale, but 8 people had died. Was Shibuya cursed? Many of the people who saw the first reports of the quake thought that, even if they didn't say it. But either way, the first special broadcasts about the earthquake were ready to go almost as soon as it started. Right now, there wasn't a lot of solid information or clear numbers, but the female newscaster was reading out a script. The Fire Disaster Management Agency has confirmed at least 31 deaths and is expecting that number to grow even higher. The cause of the deaths is currently unknown. There were also reports of a mysterious white light in Shibuya after the earthquake, a shockwave, and the sky turning white. The cameras at Shibuya Scramble Crossing had seen the light, and the big TVs were showing the footage they'd taken where everything had turned white just after the quake. The white had appeared just as the earthquake did, and at first it was less so white and more of an incredibly intense light. The light covered Shibuya in an instant, and it was so bright that no one could keep their eyes open. Anyone from the generation that lived through the last war would have immediately thought it was a nuclear weapon. In fact, there were those who'd seen a white mushroom cloud rising hundreds of meters in the sky above Shibuya, but it dissipated almost instantly. What the light was, what caused it, and what it had to do with the earthquake were, for the moment, total mysteries. The strangest thing was that the white sky had gone back to normal within an hour, and once more a murky blue color lay above the heads of the people of Shibuya. There's a tiny crack, just a few millimeters, in the asphalt around the Gonzaga Hill. There were also small cracks in the walls at some of the mixed-use buildings around Center Street. My headache hadn't gone away. It took Colm around 2 hours to reformat the hard drive. I'd almost passed out several times from the pain. I'd gone to sleep in the middle of something before, but this is my first time really passing out from something. Still, the pain was a lot better than it was 2 hours ago. I drank some soda to quench my thirst and steeled myself to get to work. I put the bed back where it was, giving myself a place to stand on the floor. It was hard, considering how weak I was, but if I didn't clean it up, it would blah blah blah. I wouldn't even be able to leave the place. I was trapped inside, unable to escape during Shogun's next attack. Not that I knew for sure the earthquake was his doing. I'd be doomed. I needed a way to get out. When my OS was finally back, I headed over to my computer and installed ESO. I tried logging into Baselard.
やった
Yes.
やった
Hooray.
ナ
My
イト
heart
ハ
is
ルトは
still
消えて
there.
ない
His equipment
装備と
and
かも全部
everything
無事だよ
were all safe.
かった
Yes.
よ
Yes.
かった
Yay, online game. I was so excited that I tried to stand up and raise my fists in the air, but I was too exhausted. Still, I was so happy to see such an important part of me hadn't disappeared after all. Now then. With that done, it was time to see what had actually happened. Personally, I wanted an apology and compensation from whoever was responsible. It felt like an earthquake, but there were so many things that didn't make sense. I looked to see if Grim was playing, but he wasn't. I went to our usual chat room, though it was harder with my bookmarks gone, and he wasn't there either. What good was he if he wasn't here when I needed him? I ended up checking the top page of Taboo instead. The article read Shibuya casualties over 200. There had been an earthquake from the look of it. It was 5 on the scale. There were an awful lot of casualties, though. Supposedly the number was likely to go even higher than 200. There was other stuff too, about how the sky above Shibuya had temporarily turned white, or a big mushroom cloud above the city, but nobody seemed sure about what they had to do with the earthquake. And Chan was talking about it too. Most comments were things like, Shibuya? Again? Or, Shibuya screwed. There were videos uploaded too, and I could see what the cameras in Scramble Crossing had recorded.
これ
This
地震だ
isn't
けじゃ
just
な
an
いよね。
earthquake, is it? I felt an incredible headache when the quake hit. No, it was way worse than just a headache. I felt like my brain was boiling over. And even 2 hours later, there was still an aching pain. I still felt exhausted.
電子レンジに閉じ込められたら
Maybe that's what happened if
あんな
somebody
風になる
stuck
か
you
も
in a
しれない。
microwave. I mean, if that was the case, maybe my ideas about this being some kind of electromagnetic wave attack from Shogun weren't just delusions. Then I heard a noise I recognized from my PC. It was the sound of somebody joining the chat room. It might have been Grim. I turned my eyes toward the chat window to ask him the details. Fuck. Shogun, get the fuck out of here. The scream slipped from my lips. Why would he show up now? Had he been reading my thoughts after all? My hand was shaking on my mouse. The rest of my body had frozen with fear. Even the pain in my head was gone. I didn't even want to look at the word Shogun, but I couldn't take my eyes off the monitor. I wanted to leave the chat room, but it was like my mind had left my body. I couldn't even move the mouse. I felt the prickling on my neck. I was being watched again. It was the gaze of God. Or maybe it wasn't God, but Shogun, looking at me from satellite orbit. I wanted to run away. But where? You can find me anywhere in Japan. Hey, it's been a while. Was the first thing he said. He was talking like he was greeting an old friend. But I never remembered being his friend. I bit my lip and stared at the characters on the screen. But after he spoke, I found myself able to move again. I grabbed my phone. It was just past 3 p.m. She might still be in class. But Remy might be able to help me. Believing that was my only choice. I called Remy's number. It was easy to find because it was only one of my... It was one of only a few of my contacts.
助けてリミ。
Save me, Remy. Do you hate me?
リミ
Remy,
早く
please. Pick up.
出て。
It hurt to breathe. I couldn't think. Remy wasn't picking up. The phone kept ringing and ringing. Why? Don't you always show up when I'm in trouble? Why aren't you here now? I'm sending you a present. A present? You're sending me another one of those pictures? Well, this time you're going to make me out to be the new gen killer, aren't you? No, I'm not the killer. I felt like a fish that had flopped onto the land. I wasn't getting enough oxygen. My head felt like it was full of fuzz. My only hope was Remy. I gripped the phone tighter, praying and focusing on every sound that came out of the receiver. He picked up. Help me. The person you're calling is not available. I hope you like it. Voicemail? Oh no. Oh boy, I gotta commit to just getting bad delusions, though. I hung up the phone, disappointed. Wrapped my arms around myself to keep steady. My body had started to shake. I was more afraid of Shogun than I thought I was. Of course I was. He was pretending to be disabled, but he was a murderer who killed people 5 times. And I was his next target.
助けてよ。
Please help me. And then, with perfect timing, there was a knock at the door.
リミ
Remy had come after all. Feeling salvation at hand, I headed for the door. But then I stopped. Why was she pounding so hard?
リミ
Me? I called out to whoever was on the other side of the door. The sound suddenly stopped. Silence. There was no answer. Please, say something. Why won't you say something?
リミなんで
Remy,
しょ
it's you, right?
う答えてよ
Answer me. There was no answer, but the knocking began again. Wasn't it Remy?
誰だ
Who was it?
誰なんだ
Who's there? Was it Shogun? The instant I realized it might not be Remy out there, I got too scared to open the door. I staggered back, bumping into the back of my chair, almost falling over. The knocking continued. Someone was there, pounding on it. No, that wasn't all. The pounding started to come from the side walls and roof as well. Whoever was out there was more than just one of them. Who's there? I couldn't take the fear anymore, and I screamed. And then, the sound stopped immediately, as if reacting to my cry. I wanted to run. I wanted to run far, far away. I wanted to get as far away from here as I could. Oh, how? There must be a whole group of people, whoever they were, outside of my house. The sound began again. No, it wasn't just knocking. There was an awful sound of scraping claws, too. Not being able to see them just made the fear worse. I knew that Shogun was a Septon, but I couldn't even imagine what the people outside the thin walls looked like. I was overcome with panic. I felt awful, like I was going to throw up. I put my hands tight over my ears.
やめて
Stop
やめ
it.
てよ
Stop it.
許して
Leave me alone. I came back to my senses and saw that I was in front of the computer monitor. I gasped and looked around the room. Then, being very careful not to move a muscle, I listened. There was no sound. Was it just a delusion? I spent 5 minutes remaining completely still, listening intently for any sound coming from the outside of my shipping container. I didn't hear anything, so I tried opening the door and taking a quick peek outside. Nobody was there, and I just imagined the whole thing. My heart still felt like it was about to burst from fear. I looked back at the monitor. Shogun had already left the chat. The only traces of him were the 4 lines he'd left. I didn't even want to see the words he'd written, so I quickly left the chat room myself. I was still shaking. Shogun was taunting me. What was so fun about stalking me like this? Did this mean I'd been chosen as the next victim, and Shogun was finally ready to put his plan into action? Or that it was the perfect patsy to take the fall for his murders?
誰か助けて
Somebody
助
save
けて
me.
よ
Save me. I looked to post-awakening Sayadaton, pleading for her to save me.
一人は
I'm
怖いんだ
scared to be alone. I didn't want to be alone. I wanted somebody to be by my side. I wanted somebody to protect me.
そうだ
It-
学
That's
校だ
right. School.
学校へ行けば
If I go to school. Mimi was there. I couldn't handle being alone and scared anymore. I stripped off my sweatshirt I always wore when I was at home, quickly changed into my uniform, and left the base. The cold wind outside made my headache feel a little better. Shibuya seemed more tense than usual. Maybe it was the earthquake. I could hear the sounds of sirens in the distance. When one stopped, another started. Just crazy. Crazy.
俺人が死ぬとこ
I'd
マ
love to
ジで
see
見てんだ
somebody
けど
die.
きっとグロす
I'm
ぎて
sure it's
最高だ
disgusting
ぜ
and totally awesome.
早く落ちてこねえ
I
かな
hope she falls soon. I could hear voices around me saying those things. Could it be? A terrible thought ran through my mind. I looked up, slowly, to where the rest of the students were looking. At the edge of the roof. It was a girl. She was holding the D sword, just like she had in her concert. She was standing there like she was offering a prayer to God in heaven. It was Ayase Kishimoto.
その体は
It lurks in the
写
shadow
真の
of a
影に
wicked
潜
heart,
目には映
a
らない
thing which
存在
cannot be seen. Ayase Kishimoto was feeling the wind on her body. It was cold, with just the slightest hint of winter. Her expression was pained, and beads of sweat were dripping down her cheeks.
離れようとも
And I tried to get away
Ryoto.
from it,
覚めぬ悪
with
夢
this unending nightmare. CMA Academy's roof was surrounded by an almost 2-meter high fence. She was standing in the narrow, 30-centimeter space on the outside of it. She had been here for almost 10 minutes. One more step, and she'd fall off the roof of a 4-story building. Below her was a crowd of students, watching with bated breath.
やがて
Shall someday become a blade
この身を
and slash
切り裂く
apart
のだ
my
ろ
body. They called for police and an ambulance, but perhaps because of the earthquake a few hours ago, no one had arrived yet. The teachers were running around, trying to get mats ready if the worst happened.
無関心という
A
名の
shield
盾
of
で
indifference
戦火を免れ
helps
る
the
人
people
々
avoid the flames of war. But Ayase stood tall and still, like the chaos below had nothing to do with her. If anything, it looked like she was deliberately cutting herself off from the world below. Her head was tilted up at the sky, and her eyes were closed. She looked almost like a young priestess praying to her god. Her body was completely motionless in the slight wind on the roof. An impressive feat of balance, considering the sword she was carrying was almost her own height.
神聖なる戦
The
場の
enemy on
敵
this
は
newborn battlefield is
心の内の
the wicked one within
悪意
the
なる
heart.
もの
And the sword, her D-sword, was flashing with a pale light, like it was having trouble breathing. Yase's own breath seemed to be in sync with the light. That's interesting. And her own breathing was pained. She let out a small, soft whisper.
悪意は
Evil can sometimes have a will of its own
意志の持ちそして
and
その
manifests
姿を
in our world.
表す
The words she whispered were quickly drowned out by the wind. Yase opened her eyes, turning toward the amber-red sky above the Shibuya high-rises.
この世界は
This world is
悪意の
filled
妄
with
想に
evil
満ち溢れている
delusions.
みんな他人の不幸
Everyone
が
loves the
大好
misery
き
of others.
目を閉じても
I close my eyes
耳を
and put my
塞いでも
hands over my ears,
ダメ
but it doesn't help.
昔からずっ
They
と
won't leave me alone.
私のそばを
They never
離れて
have.
くれないわ
As she whispered, she brought the huge sword to her chest. She embraced it with both arms. Strangely, the sharp-looking blade didn't pierce her skin at all.
帰りたかった
I wanted to go home,
大いなる意志が
to
住
the
む
other world,
もう
where
一
the
つ
great
の世
will
界に
lives.
そのために
For that, I
心を切
accepted
り刻ん
everything.
で
I ripped
全
apart
部
my
受け入
heart,
れたわ混沌の器としての
of being a vessel of
夢を
chaos. Ayase's expression twisted with sadness. Tears silently fell from her eyes. The wind blew them off her face and into the sky,
だけど
but
グラジオールの態度が
Gladiel is stirring within the womb.
時
There's no
間が
time
ないのに
left,
見つからない
but I can't find them.
見つか
I
らない
can't
の
find the
よ
medal.
天国の扉も
The door to heaven,
賢者も
the sage,
導き手も
the 7 divine
夏の神
punishments.
罰も黒騎士の伝説
Is the legend of the Black Knights true?
歌はもうたく
I've
さん
sung
歌
so
った
many
わ
songs.
それで足りないっ
If
て
that's
言うな
not
ら
enough,
ね
then, oh great will,
大いなる意志
I'll tell you what I shall do. Yase slowly spread out her arms, as if she was trying to embrace the sky, as if showing herself to some god high in his heaven.
私は
I shall
Tobu.
fly. The sword's pale pulsation grew in intensity. Yase closed her eyes again. A final tear fell from the corner of her eye.
お願い
Please,
この器は
I offer you this
差
vessel.
し出すから魂を
So,
連れて
take
行
my
って
soul. And the girl stepped forward without the slightest hesitation. There was nothing left there to support her body.
帰るべき場所へ
Take it to where it belongs. She felt the cold wind gently blow against her cheek. She looked down beneath her. Huh? And saw a floating door rising toward her. Beyond it was the sky, she saw it. I guess when one door closes, another one opens? All I could do was watch helplessly. I guess I spread out her hands and slowly stepped off the roof, like there was an invisible staircase there. Screams and loud murmurs rose from the crowd of gawkers. No longer supported by anything, she fell, like a puppet with its strings cut. Everything was happening in slow motion. Ayase's body fell. It fell so slowly. But there's no stopping it. She was gonna die. Ayase was going to die. There's no way I could help her. If she fell from that height, she'd die for sure. The ground below her was solid concrete. Her bones would shatter, her organs would be smashed, her brain and dark red blood would be splashed all over the place. If there was at least a flower bed there, if there was a soft earth instead of concrete, then maybe she'd survive. I didn't want to see anyone die. I tried to close my eyes. And then I felt it. The prickling of the back of my neck. I turned. Nobody was looking at me. Everyone was looking up towards Ayase, or down at the ground. Whose eyes are those? I heard a noise. The sound of someone hitting the ground. I never heard that sound before. It was less loud than I thought it would be.
まさか
No way. Mizumi was standing next to me, watching in shock. He was looking where Ayase had fallen, but instead of showing fear or sorrow, his expression was one of surprise. It wasn't just Mizumi either. The whole crowd of gawking onlookers had fallen silent, like they weren't sure what had just happened.
生きて
She's
る
alive. Huh? Alive? Ayase was lying on the ground. Had her bones been shattered? I couldn't tell. Had her organs been smashed? I didn't know. Her brains weren't splattered all over the place. Her dark red blood wasn't anywhere to be seen either. A soft but clearly audible moan escaped her lips. She was alive. She had passed out and wasn't moving at all, but she didn't seem to be injured. The most I could see was a small trickle of blood on her forehead. She had fallen all the way from the top of the roof, but now she was almost unharmed. She was laying on top of a flower bed.
花壇に
Flower bed? Had there been a flower bed there? Nope. Oh boy. Am I correct in saying that these results were very different than initial expectations?
我々は
We took our
進化
first
への
step
第
forward
一歩を
toward
踏み出したんですよ。
evolution.
三桁もの死
None
人
of
が
us was
出
told
る
anything about
我々は聞いてお
three-digit
らん
casualties.
計画に不備が
Was
あ
there a
ったのか
problem
ね
with the plan?
いいえ、
No.
お二人にはぜひ
I'd like the both
人
of
の
you
進
to
化の
think
歴史
back
という
on
ものを
this,
振り返ってみ
on
て
the
いただ
history
き
of
たい
human
ものですね。
evolution.
進化には多少
If
の
you're
犠
trying to
牲
tell
は
me
つ
that
きものと
evolution
いう
always
点に
involves
つい
some
ては
form
異
of
論はない
sacrifice, then fine.
死人のことな
The
どどうでもい
casualties
い
are irrelevant.
重要なのは予定
What's
と
important
違
is
う
that
と
this
いうこと
was into
だ
the plan.
想定の範囲内で
This
すよ。
outcome was within expected parameters, at least in my mind.
ならばなぜ
Then why didn't you
事前に
inform
我
us
々へ連絡せんの
beforehand?
だ情報をコ
It
ントロー
takes
ルす
time
る
and
には
preparation to
そ
keep
れ
the
なり
wrong
の下準
information
備が
from
必
reaching
要な
the
のだろう
public.
貴様の推
We
挙
aren't
のために
sacrificing this much
人や
money and
金
this
を
many
犠牲
lives
に
so
して
you
きた
can
わけではな
entertain
い
yourself.
それを
Don't
忘れ
forget
るな
that.
ご安心を。
Don't worry.
先ほ
As
ど
I
申しま
said,
した通り、
this is within
すべては
expected
想定の
values.
範囲内。いずれ近いうち
Before
に
long,
選挙
you'll
での
have to worry
票
about
集めに
getting
苦労
enough
すること
votes during
も
elections
強引な
for
勧誘
having
活動を
your
告発される恐れもな
overzealous
くなるでしょう。
evangelism attract the attention of local persecutors.
我々が日本、
Before long,
いや
we will change Japan
世界を変える日
the
も
world
時期に。
forever.
口を慎め
Silence. If the committee of 3,000 finds out about this act of treason,
我らに待っている
we're all
のは
finished.
破滅だけだ
君の役目は
Your job is
計
to
画
ensure
通
the
りに
plan
ことを
proceeds
進
as
めることであっ
scheduled.
てそれ
Nothing
以
less
上
and
でも以
nothing
下でも
more.
ないよ
調整は
We'll
我
ensure
々が
this
やる
gets covered up.
承知しています。
I'm aware.
それで
So,
第二
let's hear
世
your
代につ
report
い
on
て
the
の
second
報告を聞こう
generation.
か
お二人にも満
I'm
足
sure
し
the
て
two
い
of
ただ
you
け
will
る
be
仕上がり
completely
ですよ。
satisfied.
ノア2
Noah will be. Noah 2 will in fact be. I see. I ran at top speed from school to the park. By the time I got there, I was too out of breath to move another inch. My lungs were in desperate need of oxygen. As I gasped for air, I took a quick glance around the park. There's nobody here. The people I was afraid of, Shogun and Yua, were nowhere to be seen. Relieved, I decided to catch my breath. It was almost evening. The sky was slowly shifting from blue to the color of twilight. The park was as calm and quiet as ever, as if all the craziness at school had never even happened. In the end, Yase Jump was treated as an attempted suicide. She was carried off in an ambulance. I had no way of knowing what happened to her after that. Afterward, I'd given up trying to find Dreamy and ran all the way here instead. I couldn't get what I'd just seen out of my head. When Ayase had jumped. When Ayase had fallen, I was sure she was dead. But she'd survived. I didn't know how, but she'd survived. She was breathing. She hadn't looked injured at all. A fall from that height should have killed anyone. But she had miraculously survived. Because she'd fallen right on top of a soft flower bed. But that was impossible. Physically impossible. There'd been no flower bed there. Right until the moment she'd hit the ground, it had been an asphalt parking lot. Much of the teachers' cars had been parked there. So, where had that flower bed come from? Did I do that? I remembered having an illusion that she might survive if there was a flower bed below. But that didn't mean... Could an illusion that only lasted an instant like that really become reality? Maybe I really did have some kind of special power. I'd already seen something similar happen, when Ayase split into two people before. Could I even do something as incredible as making a flower bed appear out of nowhere? Even without a D-sword? And that flower bed was still there after she'd fallen too. When the teachers had run over to her, they left footprints in the dirt. The flowers. I think they were the same flowers as the ones in the courtyard. Had snapped at the stems when the EMTs had walked over them. It was probably still there too. My delusion had become reality, and stayed that way. It hadn't disappeared, like the other Ayase. And what was more, everyone had accepted it as natural, NoAH had wondered why there was a flower bed there. Had I done that?
おい
Hey. Huh. I heard a sharp voice calling out from behind me. I turned around just in time to see a hand reach out and grab me by the collar. Before I even had time to resist, I was slammed, hard, into a piece of playground equipment. I hit my back hard and moaned in pain. Yep.
お前だな
It was you, wasn't it?
あの花壇を作
You're
っ
the
た
one who made that flower bed. It was Senna who had attacked me out of nowhere. She was yanking my collar hard too. I couldn't breathe. I tried flailing my arms around, but she didn't let go at all. There was an intense light in her eyes that might have been murderous. I shivered, shaking my head frantically, thinking she was going to kill me.
とぼけるな
Don't lie to me. Senna's hot breath tickled my cheek. Her face was so close. I worried she might bite me. Why was this woman so violent and scary? Let me go. Damn it. I flailed my hands and by chance struck her on the cheek. Senna fell hard on the ground. She was clutching her cheek with her hand and looked up at me, slightly afraid. All trace of her earlier attitude was gone. Her eyes looked almost like she was about to cry. I'd never seen her look so weak and fragile before, and it stirred up a sadistic streak within me. All the anger that had been building up within me exploded out at once.
僕を
Don't
なめる
screw
な
with me. Those were fighting words. Words I'd never normally use, but I said them anyway. Saying them felt good. I felt a lot better.
What?
Like,
悪か
I'm
った
sorry.
でも
But
叩くなんて
it was really mean to just
Hidoy.
slap me like that.
だろ
Senna looked up at me like she was about to cry. It made me want to say more. The way she was lying there, limp. The way her skirt had come up to expose her thigh. The way her long black hair trailed on the ground. It was all making me feel excited. No, of course.
僕が
Did you
やられて
think
ば
you
かり
could
だと
just
思っ
push
た
me
のか
around?
確かに見た目
Sure,
明らかに
I
弱
may
そうだもん
look
な
like a
僕は
wimp.
明らかなドキュを相手に
It's
するよ
probably
り
easier to
僕
push
み
me
たいな
around
弱そうな
than
やつを
some
いじめる方が
Dokian
楽だし
type.
楽しい
It's
だ
a
ろ
lot of fun, isn't it?
調子に乗りやがって
Bitch.
僕だって
I can
やる
play
ときは
hard
やるんだぞ
when I have to.
この
You
ビッチが
slut. Really talking to me?
いつまでも
Don't think
黙っ
I'll
てばか
just
り
let
だ
you
と
get
思
away
う
with
な
this
よ
forever. I couldn't hold back my anger anymore. I wanted to ruin this bratty little girl forever. I leapt on top of her, pinning her body beneath mine.
何を
What are you doing?
うるさい
Shut up. I grabbed her wrist so she couldn't move. She was beneath me, looking up at me. Until now, she'd always been looking down on me. But now, I was on top, literally. The feeling of superiority was making my head spin.
やめろよ
Stop it.
離せ
Let go of me. Her voice was the same as ever, but weaker. Wait, she was crying. And then, I was a man, and so it was stronger than her.
頼む
Please,
こんなこと
don't do this.
やめろ
Stop,
お願い
please. I couldn't stop myself from laughing. Right now, this woman was under my control. She was mine to do with as I saw fit. Oh god. I had no idea that the world could be such a wonderful place. Oh boy. Why had I just done this from the start? What was I so scared of? I couldn't believe that until now. I've been such an idiot.
たっぷり
It's
可愛
time for
がって
you and me to have some fun. Oh god. There it goes. Thank god.
おい
Hey,
無視する
don't
な
ignore me. I came back to my senses and found I wasn't actually on top of Senna. In fact, she was still pinning me to the playground equipment. Huh? But the sudden change of position had me feeling a little confused.
その力のことを
I asked who
誰に
taught
教
you
わった
how
んだっ
to
て
do
聞いているん
that.
だ。
I had no memory of being asked that at all. That it happened while I was fantasizing about forcing myself on her. I had no idea what was going on, but Senna was still shaking me violently.
誰からだ
Who was
答え
it?
ろ
Answer me!
天聖信仰会
Do
と
you
は
have
関係
anything
あ
to
る
do
のか
with the
ないの
Cosmic
か
Church of the Divine Light? Oh. Cosmic Church of the what now? I shook my head frantically. I couldn't breathe. I was going to suffocate. I was passing out, dying. I couldn't stay awake. Just before I passed out, Senna suddenly let go of me. I collapsed where I stood. Just before I passed out, Senna suddenly let go of me. I collapsed where I stood. Why am I trying to read that? Oh, he can suffer on his own. I coughed and tried to force as much air into my lungs as I could. It was the exact opposite of the illusion I had a second ago. I felt even more pathetic. Was Senna my enemy after all? Was she working with Shogun too? If so, I gotta get out of here.
関係ないならいい。
If not,
悪
then
かった。
fine. I'm sorry. Senna saw my confusion and looked momentarily annoyed, then sighed. She turned to leave. It looked like she didn't intend to hurt me after all. If that was the case, then... I worked up my courage and spoke. I thought she'd ignore me, but she stopped and turned back. She was still frowning, but at least it looked like she would listen to me.
力
It-
力って
What do you mean by
何なの
power? Senna knew something. She'd asked if I was the one who created the flower bed. Everybody else there ended up thinking that the flower bed had been there from the start. For some reason, Senna knew differently.
さっきの
How
花壇
did that
どう
flower
なって
bed...
お前が妄想
It
したん
was your
だろ。
delusion, right? Wait, delusion. Yeah, it was, but
妄想は
it's possible to
現実にする
turn
ことが
delusions
可能
into
だ。
reality.
本当じゃないもの
You
が
slip
景色
something
に
that's
紛れ
not
込む。
real into everyone's vision.
つまり
In other words,
エラーを
you make
現実
people
として
think
認
that
識
the
さ
error
せ
is real.
でも
But
視界に
if all
映
you
す
can
だけじ
do
ゃ
is see it,
それって
it's
幻
nothing more
でし
than
か
an
ないよ
illusion. An illusion wasn't real. It didn't exist. If that flower bed was an illusion, Ayase would be dead right now. Ayase had survived because it wasn't an illusion, but a real flower bed.
世界の仕組みは
There are three
三つ
numbers
の
that
数字
can
で全て
explain
説
the
明できる。
entire way the world functions.
0と1、
0, 1,
そして
and
マイナ
minus
ス
1.
1。
Those are also the parameters usually in the...
ディ
Anyways,
ソードは
the
その
D
マイ
sword
ナ
is
ス
a
1を生み
shortcut
出す
to
ためのシ
creating
ョート
that
カットな
minus
の。
1. Oh, I see.
だがお前は
But you did what you
D-sword
did
なしでそれを
without a
やった。
D sword. She was starting to go off the rails again. No, but... What Senna was saying wasn't just some girl's crazy ramblings. The VR technology pattern was real, at least. Maybe Senna knew something after all.
いいか
Listen to me.
これ以上
Don't make
error
any
を
more
作る。
errors.
それがお前のため
I'm
だ。
telling you this for your own good.
それと
And if you see any
他にも
other
エラーを見
errors,
たら教えろ。
tell me. Her words sounded almost like a threat, and then she turned away.
目に見えるものだけを
It
信
must
じ
be
られ
so
ること。
wonderful to believe in just the
どんな
things
に
you
幸
can
せか。
see. Senna whispered that, and then this time, she left the park. There was silence on the floor of the AH Tokyo General Hospital where the psychiatric wards were located. The surgery and emergency wards were, supposedly, dealing with a rash of unexplainable comas that had started to occur after the earthquake. But the psych ward had nothing to do with any of that. If anything, they finished up their outpatient exams a little earlier than scheduled. A few days from now, they might have a flood of people experiencing PTSD from the quake, But for today, at least, there was nothing left for the outpatient staff to do. Shina Hazuki, one of the nurses, had been working here since last night's night shift, and belatedly realized she'd barely taken a break the whole time. She was hungry too. The ward had lost one of its doctors the other day. He'd been murdered horribly in one of the new gen incidents, and his replacement hadn't come yet, so there weren't enough people. But all that was left for the day were a few minor tasks. She could hand them over to the night staff, and she'd finally be able to go home. She slapped her cheeks with her hands, telling herself she just had to hang in there a little longer, and began to quickly walk across the lobby. Suddenly, she felt a gaze from behind, a prickling at the back of her neck. She shivered. She spun around out of sheer reflex, but there was nothing there but a quiet, empty hallway. Miss Nurse. Yeah. Hazuki was startled. The voice had come from completely the opposite of the direction she had expected. She thought the lobby was empty, but there was one person left. He called out to her when he'd seen her. And of course. He was a man with a handsome, if still young face. His pallor was healthy, and he certainly didn't look sick.
あなたは
You're...
ちょっと時
Can
間
I
も
have
ら
a
っていいです
moment
か
of your time?
はあ
I guess.
どうもっす
Thanks. The man gave an embarrassed smile, and then suddenly grabbed her by the arm and pulled her from the lobby toward the stairs. The man, Mamoru Suwa, took out a small black book from his pocket and showed it to her. He flipped it open and showed her his police ID. He stopped next to the stairs and looked around carefully to make sure nobody was nearby.
それで
So,
お
what can I
話
do for you? She still had work to do and was feeling a little uneasy. Suwa seemed to realize this, so without wasting any more time, he took out a photo from his pocket and showed it to her.
この少年に
Do you
見覚えないっ
recognize
すか
this boy? It's a photo of a listless-looking Kakamine Shijo. Because of the nature of her work, Hazuki prided herself on being good with faces, and she nodded without even really thinking about whether it was okay to answer or not.
西条拓
Takamine Shijo.
間違いないっすか
You sure?
ええ
Yes.
えでも
But her hesitation was natural. Giving anyone, even the police, information about a patient was strictly against the rules. But of course, Suwa had known when he talked to her. Had known that when he talked to her. His casual attitude suddenly vanished, and a serious look appeared on his face. He dropped his voice as he spoke.
頼みがあるんすけど
I need you to do me a favor.
西条拓の
Can you show me Takumi Nishijo's medical records? Huh?
そん
I
な
can't.
無
No,
理です
that's impossible. Do you have a warrant?
とある事件に関
It
わ
could
る
be the key
重要な
to
ことなんす
cracking
よ
the case. Hazuki wasn't sure what to do. She turned to leave, but Suwa got in front of her and blocked her.
困り
Please
ま
leave
す
me alone.
迷惑はかけないっす
I'll make sure it doesn't get back to you, so please. Finally, he got on his knees and began to beg. Wow, what a pathetic cop.
やめてください
Stop it!
本当に
Really?
無理なん
I
です
can't. Come back with a fucking warrant.
これ以上
I need your help to make sure nobody else gets killed. What could she do to make him give up? Hazuki couldn't come up with anything, so she just stood there helplessly. Come back with a warrant. After Senna left, I spent a while just standing there in shock, and quickly dashed back home. Fortunately, I didn't run into Shogun or Yua. In the end, I come back here without ever finding Rimi. After the earthquake and what had happened with Ayase, I was sure they sent the students home early for the day. It was even possible Rimi might show up here soon. Until then, I just have to sit here quaking in fear, I guess. I decided I would take my mind off the fear by using my now functional computer to gather information. Then I saw my phone where I left it next to my monitor. The light on it was flashing. I opened it and saw I received a message. I thought it might be from Rimi, but... Nana equal equal? today at school. Something amazing happened at school today. Somebody tried to jump off the roof. I was so shocked and scared. Sob. I wonder if they're okay. Were you at school when it happened? The earthquake was really crazy, huh? My head really hurt. I wonder why. I guess to Nanami, nothing had happened today that was that big of a deal. Lucky her. Of course, I didn't answer. I decided to look up anything I could find on Ayase. I still couldn't get to Phantasm's official homepage. The media didn't have anything to say about her either. To be fair, the earthquake was probably far bigger news than an attempted suicide by the vocalist of an indie band. Right now, I had no way of knowing if she was okay. There's a lot more information about the earthquake published now than there'd been when I looked last. The number of dead had climbed to 118, and there were over 300 injured too. I couldn't believe there was a 3-digit number of fatalities. The epicenter of the earthquake was Shibuya, but the damage was limited to Shibuya, to an extent that was surprising. The quake itself was in intensity 5. There was also an article saying that almost every piece of magnetic media in Shibuya had been destroyed. The thought of that tragedy that had befallen me happening to other people made the frustration and anger I felt come roaring back. It was a true tragedy. My H-game save data, my porn collection, they will never come back. Sigh. Still, it doesn't seem like an ordinary earthquake. An ordinary earthquake wouldn't have killed 118 people. So true. The internet had noticed how odd that was too. There was a lot of discussion. Damn it, they're all having fun talking about it. You think whose eyes are those caused this earthquake? What? Way to go, whose eyes are those? Makes sense. That explains how 118 people died in a wimpy ass intensity 5 quake. I thought back to what happened during the earthquake. I'd been hit by an incredible shock. It was a sensation I'd never felt before, like my head was boiling over or exploding. I could easily kill someone, I thought. I looked at what was on TV too, not just the internet. My PC had a TV tuner built in it. That was why I didn't need a TV in my room. That's cool.
現在までに死者118名、重軽傷者
We know now
300名
that
以
the
上
number
と
of
非
confirmed
常に多くの
fatalities
犠
is
牲者が出ていることが
118,
分かっ
with
てい
over
ます。
300 people badly injured. That's an extremely high number of casualties.
さて、渋谷の
You're
駅
not
前
getting
と
live
中継がつ
video
ながったようです。
now from the front of Shibuya Station.
島谷さん、現地の様
Shimatani,
子はいかが
what's
です
it look
か？
like out there?
2005年に同じよ
There
うに
was another
震
quake
度
of
5の
this
地震が東
intensity
京であ
in
ったんですよ。
2005.
その時
Not
は
one
ゼロで
person died.
なぜ
So
今
how
回
are
は
there over
100名以
100
上の被害者が
fatalities
出ているん
now?
ですか？
被害者の数は
The
震
number
度
of
に比例する
casualties
わけじゃ
doesn't
ないんです。
necessarily
そ
correlate
こ
to
に
the
は
size
様
of the
々な
quake.
要因があ
It
りま
could
し
be
て、
any number of factors.
亡くなった方の死因
We
や
still don't have
病院
any
に運ば
details
れた
as
負
to the
傷者の
cause
容
of
体に
death,
ついては、
or the state of
未
the
だ
injured
詳しい情報
who've
が入っておりません。
been taken to hospitals.
また、渋谷
We've
区を
also
中
brought
心
in
に
experts
磁気メ
to
ディアが
discuss
全
the
壊して
heavy
しまっている
damage
こと
to
について、
magnetic media in
今
an
日は
area
専
centering
門家
around
にお越しいた
Shibuya.
だいております。
地質学産業
We
研
have
究
with
所よ
us
り
Dr.
林
Taizo
原会長先
Hayashibara
生
from the
財
Geological
団法人
Industrial
地質調査環
well,
境
blah,
セン
blah,
ターよ
blah,
り
from the
小沢
Geologic
幹人先
Industrial
生にお越
Research
しいただきまし
Laboratory
た。
and Dr. Mikihito Ozawa from the non-profit Center for Geoenvironmental Investigation.
林原さん、
Dr.
今回の地震
Hayashibara,
につい
what
て、
caused the heavy
磁気メデ
damage
ィア
to
に深
magnetic
刻な被害
media
が出
that
た
we
原
saw
因という
during
のは、
this earthquake?
どういうところにあるんでしょうか。
まず知っておいていただきたい
The
の
first thing
は、
I want you to
渋
be
谷区あ
aware
た
of
りの地下
is that
200
there
メートル付近
is
に
an
は
layer
磁
of
鉄
magnetite,
鉱、
that is,
つま
a
り
natural
天
magnet,
然の磁石が多
200 meters
く
below
埋
the
蔵されてい
Shibuya
る地層
area.
があるということですね。地
It's
層の分類として
classified
は
as
火成
igneous
岩層です
rock,
が、
but we call this
私
area
たちは
the
このエ
magnetic
リアを
valley.
磁鉄鉱の谷、地中にある磁
It's
石
a
の谷で
massive
すね。
layer of magnetic
文字通り、
magnetite
かなり大
deep
規模な
below the
岩脈なんで
surface.
すよ。ここにですね、
If you were to
今
apply
回
a
の地
large
震のよ
force
う
to
な
that
大きな刺激が
strata,
加わった
like the
とする
earthquake
な
we
らば、
just saw,
その影響で
the
地上に
effects of
存
its
在する
magnetic
磁生態、
field could,
主
in
に
theory,
磁気メディアの持つ
do
記
fatal
録部
damage
に
to any magnetic media
致
on
命
the
的なダメ
surface.
ージを与えてもおかしくはないんです。 何をバカな。
Absolutely ridiculous.
小沢先生は別の意
Dr.
見です
Ozawa,
か？
you see things differently?
確かに
Yes,
渋谷の
he's
地下に
correct
は
that
巨
there
大
is
な
a
マグネ
large
タイトの岩
magnetite
脈があ
layer
るこ
beneath
とは事実
Shibuya.
です。ですが、
But this
磁石と
magnetite
呼ぶ
layer
に
is
はあ
far
まり
too
に
big
も
to
微弱
exert
な
any
この
real
マグネタ
magnetic
イト群
force
に
on
はで
its
す
own,
ね、
particularly
地上
one
の
large
磁気
enough
モー
to
メント
affect the
や安
stable
定磁場
magnetic
を崩
fields
す
and
ほどの
magnetic
力
moment
は
on
な
the
いというの
surface.
が通
This is
説にな
common
っています。
knowledge.
実際ですね、
In fact,
過去に
we've
も
had
震度
plenty
5
of
の地震は
intensity
何
5
度も
quakes in
発
the
生してい
past,
ます。
and none of
過
them
去の
had
それ
done
らの地
anything
震では
even close
今
to
回のような
this.
被害はなかった。なので、
Thus,
原因
I
は
think
別
the
にある
logical
ので
thing
は
to
ない
do
かと考
is seek
えるのが
explanations
妥当だと
elsewhere.
思います。そうは
I
言う
see
が
where
ね、
you're coming
今
from.
回の異
But
常
it's
な
also
犠牲
true
者数について
that
は、た
there
だ
are
の
far
地震
too
では
many
片付けられ
casualties
な
to
い
write
何
off
か
what
があるの
happened
が
as a mere earthquake.
事実なわけであり、渋谷にいた人の
Practically
ほとん
everybody
ど
in
が
Shibuya
頭
has
痛が
been
したって訴
complaining
えている
of
ことからも
headaches.
間
It's almost
違いな
certain
く
that
磁石庫が
magnetic
関係
fields
し
are
ている可能
involved.
性が磁場ごとき
Are
で
you
100人
seriously
も殺せ
telling
る
me
と
that
主
a
張す
magnetic
るおつ
field
も
can
りです
kill
か？
100 people?
それではここで
I'll
CM
be
です。
right back after these commercials. Oh boy.
結局
Well,
詳しいことは
that
何も
didn't
わ
tell
から
me
ずか。
much. The media was ignoring the huge white cloud that had appeared in Shibuya, the reports of the sky turning white. They've been reporting them at first. But now, it was like they were being treated as if they never happened. I felt really creeped out. The after-hours entrance to AH Tokyo General Hospital had a place at the side for ambulances to park when they arrived with emergency patients. There were 2 ambulances there now, and the EMTs were unloading patients to carry them into the hospital. A doctor in a light green surgical gown and a middle-aged head nurse were giving them orders. There were several patients sitting around the entrance, waiting to be seen, and it was clear that the doctors were having trouble keeping up. There were 2 types of patients coming in today. The first were the injured, who had blood dripping from their arms or forehead, and their faces were twisted in pain. They were painful to look at, but they were being ignored for now. Priority was being given to the patients who were being brought in unconscious, but without any external wounds. An awful lot of people coming in after the earthquake fit that description. These symptoms had never been seen after an earthquake before. As of now, the doctors had no idea what caused them to lose consciousness. Another ambulance arrived, its loud sirens blazing. The technician got out of the ambulance and yelled at the doctor who asked him for the patient's description. This was your top priority! That was the only explanation. Most doctors would have complained. With all that was going on, the normal answer to being told how to prioritize your own patients would be, go screw yourself. But surprisingly, the doctor and head nurse both nodded and helped unload the stretcher from the ambulance. Lying on the stretcher was Ayase Kishimoto. She was unconscious and moaning softly. The doctor and the techs quickly took the stretcher inside, ignoring the glares of the injured around them. There's Remy. Hi. Standing a bit away from them, by the main entrance of the hospital, was the girl. She was watching them intently. Remy Sakihata narrowed her eyebrows and bit her lip.
岸本
Kishimoto. The earthquake was concerning, but Shogun was a much bigger deal to me right now. My headache was gone, but the fever was growing stronger and stronger inside me, and being alone was making me feel more and more depressed. And there's still no word from Remy. I tried calling, but she didn't pick up. Until now, Remy would always appear right when I needed her, and tell me everything would be alright. Why didn't she come for me today? She said she'd always be there for me. I gritted my teeth and devoted myself to setting up my computer. First, I had to reinstall my email software. I only set it up once, when I got this machine, and then never touched it again, so I didn't remember any of my settings. I had to start by trying to figure out where the software and the manual even were. It wasn't that big of a job, but before too much time passed, I realized I was being covered in sweat. Or I was covered in sweat. Several times. I got in so annoyed I almost gave up. But still, after an hour of work, 30 minutes of which was spent searching for the manual, I had my email back. I looked to see if I had any new messages. You've got mail, dork. Nah, I could finally hear Sayadatan's voice again. Hearing it just made me feel better, like all my hard work had paid off. I had 8 new messages, all of them were spam. I am a pervert, be my sex friend. From Maria. Then from Sheen, it's mind-blowing sex. Your next quarter's tuition. I had fun yesterday. Now recruiting, only 20 spots available. From Nanami, whose eyes are those? I think that one's gonna be, yeah, addressed. My husband cheated on me. Hot lolly college girls are waiting for you. But, Stone my Daranome from Nanami is probably a problem. But among them was one that seemed a little unusual. And had a slightly unusual name for its sender. I let out a sharp moan. What the hell was this? Some prank of Donami's? It was an awful prank, if so. I felt like punching her in the face. No, wait. Nanami couldn't have emailed me. She never contacted me through my computer's email address. When she wanted to talk to me, she used text, like she had a moment ago. I never given her my PC email address. Was this just a coincidence? Sheer chance? Nanami was a pretty common name. And whose eyes are those was so common now. You heard it everywhere you went. I could easily see it being used as a title in a spam email. I decided to see what was inside. It's
結構な長文だな。
pretty long.
さっきはチャットで話ができて楽しかったよ。ちなみに送信
By the
者の
way,
名前は
the sender's name is fake.
僕の名前は将
My
軍だ
name
よ。
is Shogun. Yeah, I saw that coming. Huh. Shogun. No way. Shogun can't know my email address. But what if Shogun could read my mind? If he could, maybe it'd be easy for him to find my email address.
嘘でしょ。
Impossible. I'm glad I survived. I was planning on using her as a victim in the next new gen case, but I decided suicide would serve my purpose just as well. I'm impressed with you though, Takumi. You got a new high score. Very impressed. You really are special. Now then, it's Nanami Nichijo's turn. What was this? I'm hoping to make this one especially dramatic since she's your sister. Shibuya is in a nasty mood right now because of the quake. It's up to you to bring this to a moving climax that will make everyone feel so much better. It's getting hard to finish all these quests unarmed, isn't it? You're a hero. Don't you want a hero's sword? Don't worry, I'll help you out. I read the whole thing. Its overly friendly tone made me shiver. It was crazy. What was all this? It's time to begin the quest to save Nanami. Come to the roof of O Front at 9 p.m. tonight. You'll be on TV, so it's hard to read this. So try to dress heroically. P.S. Did you get my present? Quest high scores. It was like he thought it was a video game.
僕が
I'm
勇
not
者
a
なんかじゃ
hero.
ない。
I'm not
ナイトバルトじ
Nightheart.
ゃない。
It was finally my turn to be killed. I wanted to run, to get out of here. Rimi. I had to get Rimi to protect me. Why couldn't I get a hold of her? Had she been hurt in the earthquake? But Misumi hadn't said a thing when I met her earlier. I took out my phone to see if there were any missed calls or messages from her. Nothing. Where was Rimi? Then I gasped. The inbox on my phone. It had a message I just got it from Nanami. Was Nanami okay? I reread the email that Shogun sent. Now it's Nanami and Ichijo's turn. It's time to begin the quest to save Nanami. What did that mean? I needed to call her right away. I opened my phone's contacts list. There were only 3 numbers on it. Home, Rimi's phone, and Nanami's phone. Whenever we met, Nanami was always irritatingly insistent that I call her. It wouldn't hurt to finally call her once in a while, right? I just hope she picked up, because if she didn't, I was never calling her again. Even if she'd gotten hurt in the earthquake and couldn't pick up or something, I didn't care. I pulled up her number and pressed dial. I put the phone to my ear. There's no answer. The phone wasn't even ringing. I knew there was always a little pause when you called someone on a cell phone, but no, the silence seemed to run for an eternity. And every passing instant, I got more and more irritated. Come on! Good. She picked up. Huh? What was the sound? I pulled the phone away from my ear. It's her phone, isn't it? There was a melody I didn't recognize coming from somewhere in the room. Was that a cell phone ringtone? Oh boy. Whose phone was ringing? For the timing, it had to be. I shook my head. I didn't know what ringtone Nanami used on her phone, which meant there was no proof that the melody I was hearing was from Nanami's phone. None. I got scared and put the phone back up to my ear. Nanami hadn't picked up yet. Come on, pick up. Pick up already. She picked up.
Nanami!
Nanami.
Nanami.
Nanami. It's you, right? Answer me. Where are you? Are you okay? Say something. Nanami. I screamed into the phone, and then a voice spoke. Why don't you calm down a little? That voice was Shogun. Why? I gasped in shock. I couldn't figure out why Shogun would answer when I called Nanami's phone. All I could do was repeat the same thing like an idiot. Why? Didn't you understand what I said in my message? I don't believe it. I don't believe this. That's right. I didn't believe it. It was a delusion. My own delusion of what the worst case scenario would look like. But the reality wasn't too far off. Nanami still hadn't answered, and somebody's phone was ringing in my room. It was a cheerful melody, the complete opposite of my own mental state. It felt awful. Nanami's phone had to be in my room. It was the only explanation. I couldn't think of any other way to explain it, and I couldn't avert my eyes from reality anymore. That's the present, isn't it? Nanami's phone. P.S. Did you get my present? No, that had to be a lie. There's no way this could be real. I lowered my phone slowly. I couldn't even blink. My throat was parched. But still, I looked for the source of the sound. This time, I looked around slowly. My eyes landing on each and every object scattered about the room. I hated myself violently for not cleaning before. If the place wasn't such a mess, I'd be able to tell where it was coming from immediately. Where was the sound coming from? The box there, alright. This box. The sound was coming from inside this box. It was the size of 2 H-game boxes side by side. I thought it was from something I bought online, but there was nothing printed on it. There was no address label either. But it was sealed tightly with tape. Had this big box always been here? Did it fall off the bed in the earthquake?
Yeah.
No. Never seen this box before. I'd always opened anything ordered online right away too. And if it was something I'd sold at an online auction, I'd have it shipped off right after I wrapped it up. I thought that maybe Nanami had brought me some food or something, but I didn't remember her bringing me a box this big. Which meant that in the hour or so when I'd been at school, someone had been here. I'm sending you a present. I hope you like it. My heart started pounding faster. I quickly checked the lock on the door. A cold chill ran down my back. I didn't remember locking the door when I had staggered out of the base earlier today. I never even thought about it. I barely even been conscious thanks to that terrible stabbing headache. The door had been completely unlocked for the hour I'd been gone. Anybody who wanted to could have come in. Had Shogun been here? Had he come into my home? I looked at the box again. The melody was still playing. Nanami's phone was inside. I gingerly picked up the cardboard box. It was heavy. It was far too heavy to hold just a phone. It felt like it weighed about the same as a 500ml bottle of juice. I hesitated to open it. Something felt very, very wrong. I don't want to open it. But I couldn't think of a way to avoid it. And I was worried about Nanami too. She was a little brat, but she was still my sister. Nanami's phone was inside this box, which meant that someone had stolen it from her. It was time to begin the quest to save Nanami. That's what Shogun's email had said. I looked at the clock. It was 7:30 p.m. I had just an hour and a half until the designated time. Maybe Nanami was in danger? I had to open it. The sensation of my heart pounding wouldn't go away. The sweat was pouring off my forehead. I wiped the sweat away from the back of my hand and let out a moan as I started to strip off the tape. No, 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 no. Uh-huh. I whispered in prayer as I opened the lid. Inside the box was a lump of aluminum foil. It even put packing peanuts around it. Holding back my terror, I looked inside the box. There's no sign of the phone. The melody was coming from within the foil. Sweat got on my eyes and stung, whereas my whole body was covered in sweat. Okay, submit your theories now. Peachy says, a burrito. I'm gonna go with really big baked potato. Your turn, Spooky. What do you think it is? No serious answers allowed. You'd rather not think about it? I'll be honest, my first thought was that it was vaguely bunny-shaped, but I don't think it would be a bunny. That would be weird. You'd rather not think about it. Really big potato? Yeah. Anyways. Please, just make this all stop happening. No, isn't the only one this ever happened to. I felt like crying and complaining to somebody. I looked to Sayata for words of encouragement, but she was silent. My head was so full of terrible delusions that I couldn't even imagine her speaking to me. It was so tense that my mind was on the verge of shorting out. The cheerful melody of the phone kept driving me on. I'm gonna open it. I stilled my nerves and grabbed the edge of the foil with my fingers. I closed my eyes, held my breath. I ripped off the foil. The melody was louder and clearer than ever. I was afraid to open my eyes. I tried to catch my breath, but it wasn't working. It's fine, there's nothing to be worried about. This is just some prick of Nanabe's, right? Any second now, she's going to walk in and yell, "Gotcha!" Yeah, that's what would happen. It was the only explanation. If she came in, I was gonna scream at her, and then I'd never speak to her again. That's right. Tell me I'm right, Nanami. I couldn't keep my eyes closed anymore. Staring into the darkness was too much for me. The fact that I couldn't see it was just making the awful delusions worse. So I slowly opened my eyes. Saw. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Like, as soon as we saw the box, I figured it was gonna be Nanami's hand holding on the cell phone. Yeah, me too, Spooky. What I saw was a hand. A small, cleanly severed hand. It was holding the same model phone I had. And on the wrist. Hey, this is cute. Okay, give it to me, then. Well, brother, does it look good on me? Bangle. Its yellow band was stained red with blood. Yeah, valid. Fair. Understandable. Have a nice day. I'm afraid the next part of our discussion will be a little technical. You used to be a doctor, right? Explain it in nice, simple terms. Like you were talking to a patient. I'll do my best. There are hundreds of millions of cells inside the human brain. Narrow nerve strands extend between each of them. If you look at them under a microscope, it's almost as if they're holding hands. No, they're holding hands. But in fact, there's an extremely small space between these nerve hands. When an electric information signal is sent to a brain cell, microscopic neurotransmitters called dopamine shoot out of the palm of the nerve's hand. The palm of the opposite hand catches the transmitter, turning it back into an electric signal, which is then transmitted to the next one. The structure of the brain is, in essence, built around this repeating chain of signals. Our company's second generation NoAH project interferes with this process. That makes it possible to feed fake visual information to the brain. So is it not actually Nanami's hand? Or... like a hologram? Or hallucination? I'm leaning closer to hallucination here. Hallucination is closer. Hey! But what makes it different is that this fake image appears completely real. In the human eye, that is. The visual system is extremely interesting. The visual field of a single eye extends 60 degrees toward the side facing the nose, and 100 degrees toward the side facing the ear. Our two eyes have an overlapping visual field of 120 degrees, or between 180 to 200 degrees if you include peripheral vision. You guess in a weird way hallucinations are brain holograms? I mean, I wouldn't put it that way. But, you know. As I explained before, however, there are dead spots in the eye. The visual system is the system most closely linked with the brain. Approximately 80% of our brain is used solely for the processing of visual information. This is something this Committee of 300 is interested in as well. Human vision contains many mysteries yet to be solved. There are over 1,000 different fields of research investigating the visual system all around the world, after all. The executive order that was issued several years ago in America, strengthening protections of research into the secrets of the human body. Did the committee pressure that into coming into being? It wasn't pressure, it was an act of selection. The Committee of 300 doesn't want some random researcher getting too deep into this field. Of course, similar orders have gone out, not just in America, but the rest of the world's nations as well. My country seems to be specifically lax in that regard, given that people like me are free to do as we please. You seem to misunderstand. Why do you think we're here? You've already been selected. And that's why it's your responsibility to produce results. Results that will allow you to become more powerful in the committee. You were told to watch your mouth. No one must know our true goal of our true goal. Not even the committee. My apologies. Continue your explanation. The false visual imagery produced by NoAH is turned into an optic nerve impulse and emitted as electric magnetic wave. This wave penetrates the target's skin and skull, acting directly on the dopamine receivers. The analogy used before, these were the palms that catch the signal. Now this image is used to fill the dead spots. People in areas with high GE rates are especially vulnerable to these pulses. The brain is in a confused state, and so decides the fake imagery is real. This is the mechanism used to create something out of nothing within human vision. Using NoAH, we could, for example, easily cause them to see posters advertising your re-election all over Shibuya. But this only works if someone's biorhythms are in a heightened state. Using hallucinations to alter the human will. It's the same system as the silent weapons, isn't it? Under the right conditions, you can make the target see whatever you wanted. And that's the same power that gigolomaniacs have? Correct. NoAH is, in a sense, a mechanical gigolomaniac. Gigolomaniac? I don't know. When it starts functioning at its theoretical predicted values, it will be able to match, or no, in the near future, even exceed the power of gigolomaniacs. Or, yeah, gigolomaniacs. But how wide of an area can it affect? Is it just leak electromagnetic waves everywhere? That would make it less suitable for general use. We don't want discrimination brainwashing. We need to be able to select our targets. Don't worry. We've prepared a functional factor to account for this. Gigolomaniac is for overall just a chaos series term. Got it. Please turn your eyes toward the monitor. No. It's just their word for people with real reading powers. Ah, I see. Who are these filthy men? We call them porters. You call them our mind control squad. The backpacks they carry have ports that can receive and transmit NoAH 2's pulse waves. When the ports receive the signal, they broadcast it to the surrounding area remotely. So they're walking terminals. There's just actually no limit to their range then. And it would be easy to limit their use too. I understand where we're at now. Continue your work on the plan. But please refrain from any statements or actions that could cause the Committee of 300 to realize what you're up to. Beyond that, the number of casualties is of no interest to us. Thank you for your understanding. In that case, I'd like you to give me people I can use as porters. I'll see to it that they're provided. That. And I'd like you to continue to exert control over the media. Everything the three of us do, we do for the sake of our ideals. Interesting. I see. Taki. Hey, Taki. You can hear me, right? Yeah. I can hear you. Say downtown. Listen, Taki. Let's quit this game. Game? I know Nanami is your sister and you care about her, but it's probably too late. That's not... That's not true. Think about it. If they cut off her arm, she'd die of blood loss, right? Maybe not in a video game, but in real life. Why? Why did Nanami have to? This is game over, I think. If you don't quit the game soon, more people will die. But you fight bad guys too, don't you? That's because I'm an anime character. I stuffed the Seroton figure into my uniform pocket. I have to save her. I have to. I brought Seroton to keep me safe. Normally, I'd never walk around with a figure in my pocket. Might get damaged after all. Letting his wife be destroyed is the worst thing an otaku can do. But no, I didn't have it in me to follow my own policy. I need something to keep me sane. Of course, I might be dead by this time tomorrow. I looked down at Seiratan once more. Her head was poking out of my pocket. It helped me keep the tears from pouring out. Then somebody slammed into me from behind and I staggered forward. I looked back and saw a Dokyun-type man looking at me, annoyed. But he disappeared into the crowd without saying another word. I looked around. I was in Shibuya's Scramble Crossing. It was hard to believe that it was 9 PM on a weekday, practically only a few hours after an earthquake where over 100 people had died. There was an ocean of people around me. Just waiting for the light made me feel like I was going to suffocate. There were people everywhere on all sides of me. I didn't know why, but the media was out here too. There were people with big TV cameras stepping out onto the road, blocking traffic. The big lights they used for filming were everywhere. They were blindingly bright. Several people who looked like newscasters were rapidly speaking into cameras. There were a few officers in uniform trying to keep the pedestrians and media out of the road, but the whole situation was out of control. The road was almost completely shut down from all people on it. Was there an event or something going on on a day like this, at this time of night? How could they hold something like that on a day where over 100 people had died? Do they not have the common decency to call it off? Why were the media here along with them? If it's people were like this, Japan was doomed. Not that it mattered to me. I have to save her. I have to save her. Shogun had sent me to O-Front, a building right in the middle of the Scramble Crossing. It was the one with the Tatsuya and the Starbucks. I hadn't actually planned on going on my own, but I couldn't get a hold of Nimi at all. And the police might still think I was the new gen killer, so I couldn't go to them either. I was running out of time as I tried to figure out what to do. And then, I got so worried about Nanami that I came here alone, with Sayada-tan close at hand for protection. I worked my way through the crowds and inside O-Front. It was pretty crowded inside too, but I was too distracted to even care. All I could think about was Nanami's safety. I headed up the escalator to the floor above. There were big windows in the Starbucks that let you see out onto the square below. When I looked out of them, I could see just how many people there were in Scramble Crossing. I felt like everyone in the crowd was waving their arms or jumping up and down. A notion of dark-haired heads roiled and bobbed beneath me. It was brighter than it had been when I was down there. I started to wonder if all the lights down below were facing toward the building I was in. Every time I looked at that, I took the escalator up another floor. My heart started pounding faster and faster. I took out my phone and checked the time. It was 9:01 p.m. My Shogun got mad that I was late and killed Nanami. I shivered and ran up the escalator, pushing past the people in front of me. Halfway up, I switched to using the elevator and took it to the top floor. I didn't know how I was going to get to the roof from there, but I wandered around for a bit, trying to make sure nobody saw me, and eventually found an emergency staircase. I managed to get to the roof without anyone saying anything to me. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be. The wind was blowing hard on the roof. It felt strangely warm, considering it was the end of October. Hey. I realized quickly that it wasn't a natural wind, but the air blowing from the air conditioners on top of the building. I fastened the button on my pocket so Sayada-tan wouldn't blow away. Thanks, Dark. You're welcome. Hearing Sayada-tan's voice in my brain made me feel a little better. As long as I had Sayada-tan with me, I wasn't scared. That's what I told myself over and over again. And that said, it was awfully dark up here. The only light was the neon O-Front sign, which I was now seeing from behind. And the neon lights on the other buildings were so bright that it was hard to see around me. If somebody was hiding up here, I'd never be able to find them. You're late. Someone suddenly spoke. My heartbeat had been starting to slow, but now it flew back up to top speed. I looked around, but it was too dark to see where the speaker was. I heard a sound. It was the creaking sound I heard so many times before. This time, I slowly trained my eyes on the darkness in front of me, and could barely make out the outline of a wheelchair's wheels against the light.
Huh?
Nah. Shogun. Welcome, Takumi. The voice was friendly as it said my name. It made me feel sick. I didn't want to talk to Shogun. I was scared. I wanted to run away from here right now. Let's run away, then. He's going to kill you if you don't run, Taki. But Nanami. You're a very courageous man. You came here all by yourself, like I asked. You have my thanks. Wait, something was wrong with this Shogun. Something was different than before. Right, his voice. His voice wasn't right. Your voice. The voice. It's just vibration in the air. Any number of things can change how it sounds. Am I wrong? What was going on? His voice was changing more and more. Was he using some kind of machine? Maybe he didn't want me to identify his voice? At this point, why bother? What was he saying? Blah, blah, blah. And what he was saying didn't make any sense either. Taki, he's trying to confuse you. Don't let your guard down. And don't listen to him. That's right. Sayada-tan was right. Sayada-tan was always right. Always. I put my hand over the pocket I was keeping her in and squeezed tight. Where's Nanami? I was so afraid. My heart felt like it was about to burst out of my mouth. I forced myself to speak anyway. I thought stuff like this only happened on TV and in video games. Is Nanami already dead? No. No way. He cut off her hand, right? Even if she's alive, she'll still die from blood loss any minute now. I started to cry. I could see Nanami's puffed up, pouting face in my mind. She was a little bad. Honestly, she was obnoxious. But still, it was so sad. So sad I was crying. Nanami. Nanami is my little sister. I cared about her. Why did you kill her? How could you? You think she's dead? That might have been somebody else's hand. You know. Huh? The bangle on the phone might have been hers. But how do you know that wasn't somebody else's hand? Nanami was alive? I'm telling you, don't believe him. If you can finish the quest, I'll give her back. I'll give her back to you, alive. Quest. Where was that word again? Did he think this was a video game? But the real me wasn't a hero. But if you fail the quest, she's never coming back. His voice suddenly grew as cold as a blade. I felt so stupid being afraid of such an old man, but he was crazy. He was the new junk killer. So, make sure you finish the quest, and don't disappoint me. I know you can do it. Why? Why me? You didn't have to. It didn't have to be me, right? It has to be you. But why? Because you were chosen. Chosen. Don't misunderstand him, Taki. He means you were chosen to be the next victim. I remember the horrible fates that had befallen the other new gen victims and shivered. You remember what happened to this afternoon, right? Afternoon. You saved Ayase Kishimoto at school. Shogun's email had talked about her attempted suicide. He must have been watching from somewhere. Or maybe he mind-controlled her into trying to commit suicide in the first place. Ayase only survived because she landed on that flower bed, correct? Shogun knew about the power I supposedly had. Nobody there had found anything strange in the slightest about that flower bed. The only one who knew what happened was Senna, and Senna had said this to me. It was your delusion, right? Taki tried to make him think he's wrong. That's right. It was possible that Shogun was only after me, only trying to kill me, because of the power he thought I had. If I told him I didn't have it, maybe he'd let me go. I
僕に
don't
は
have the
そんな
power
力
you think
な
I
い。
do.
力
Power?
力
What
って何の
power?
こと
I haven't used the
僕
word
はそんな言葉
power
は
a
一
single
言も使っ
time.
ていないが
Oh, crap.
タッキーには力
You
が
don't have any power, Taki.
ただの希
You're
望
just a
じゃない
creepy
の
loser
タッキー
otaku.
にヒーロー
You
の
don't have what
素
it takes
質
to
なん
be
て
a
ない
hero.
さ
You're just a harmless dork who never leaves his room and jerks off to me all the time. Am I wrong? She was right. I didn't have any power. It was just a stupid kid's fantasy. After all the things that Sena Ayase had said, I started to believe it was real. But the two of them were clearly crazy. I was stupid to believe anything a crazy person said. Hadn't Rimi said it was all a delusion anyway?
詳しく説明してく
Why
れ
don't you tell me more?
あの花壇の
About that flower bed, for instance.
ぼ
Do you have any proof that I did it? No, I don't have the power to make flower beds appear out of nowhere.
花壇が
So the flower bed appeared out of nowhere.
他の人は誰も
And
が
everyone else thought it was there from the very
最初からそこ
start.
に花壇があったって話していたけど君だけは
But you,
花壇
you're
は
aware of the
最初は
fact that it
そこ
was
にな
never
かったって
there.
そう認識しているわけだ
I might have dug my own grave again. Wait, he was Shogun anyway. If he knew what the other students and teachers were saying, had he been there to hear it from them?
僕は力な
I
んて
don't
ない。
have any power.
自分で
I
も
don't even
一
know
体
how I
どう
did
やっ
it.
たのか。
でも使えた
But you did it nonetheless.
君
Your
が妄
delusion
想したこ
became
とが
reality.
現実になった
惑わされない
Don't let him trick you.
タッキー
Taki,
本当に力なん
do you
て
feel
ある
like you
の
really have that power?
そんなのアニメの
That
世界
stuff
じゃん
only happens in anime.
タッキーがいるのは現
You
実
live in
な
the
んだ
real
よ
world.
ただのことも
The flower
綾瀬た
bed.
ちが
The
二
way
人
Yase
分裂した
split in
こと
two.
もそれら
Can you
が
prove that they were
現実だ
real?
って証明できる無理っしょ
You can't, can you?
分裂した綾瀬たちの
Did you
体
touch
に触った
Ayase when she split? I didn't.
ただの幻か
You
も
might have just been seeing things.
そもそもタッキーはあの時
You're really freaked
警
out
察
then
とか
because
噂
of
に
the
追われて
police
動
and
転してた
Yua
し
were after you. Then what about the flower bed?
同じだよ
It's the same thing.
花壇は最初
The
か
flower
らそ
bed
こ
was
にあ
always
った
there.
タッキーはリミッチを探
When
し
you
た
went to
そこへ
school
行った
looking for
時
Rimi,
頭
your
が
head
痛く
hurt and you
てフ
could
ラフラ
barly
してた
think.
綾瀬っちが落ちるま
Before
でにはっき
Ayase
りと
fell, did you
そこ
really
に
look
花
and
壇
see
がある
if
こ
there
とを
wasn't a
確認
flower
し
bed there?
みんな誰一人として
Nobody else
花
thought
壇
it
が
was
出現
strange
した
that
こ
a
と
flower
を疑問に
bed
思って
just
ない
appeared
って
out of
ことは
nowhere.
さ逆に言えば
So how
最
did
初
you
から
know it
そこに
wasn't there
あ
from
った
the
から
start?
疑問に思わないってことっしょタッキーが間違えてただけ
You
な
were
んだ
just
よ
mistaken, Taki.
将軍の言葉に惑
Don't
わ
let
されてたね
Shogun fool you.
花壇は
The flower
最
bed
初
was
から
always...
そこにあった。
I repeated what Seira-tan had said.
最初は
I
そこ
thought
にはな
it
かったっ
wasn't
て
there
思い
at
込んでたけ
first,
ど、
but I was
記
wrong.
憶違いだった。僕の
It
脳
was
内
just
で
a
の妄想
delusion
だ
my
よ。
mind made up.
だって、
Look,
みんなあそこには
everyone said there was
花壇が
always
あ
a
ったって
flower
言
bed
って
there,
るんで
right?
しょ。力とかそういうわ
It
わ
wasn't
けの
any
わからない
kind
も
of
の
weird
じゃな
power
く
or
て、
anything.
ただの思い
It
込
was
みだ
just
ったんだ。
wrong.
いいや
No,
君には
you
力
have
が
that power.
そうだろ
Am I wrong?
死にたく
I don't want
はい
to die.
そうだろ
Am I wrong?
わから
I
な
don't
い。
know.
殺
Please
さ
don't
ない
kill
で。
me.
君は自分の
You
天
should
才
be
的
more
な
aware
力
of
に
the
つい
fact
て
that you have a
もっと自覚するべ
God-given
きだ。
power.
その潜在能
Your
力はすご
latent
すぎる
potential is unbelievable.
君なら世
You
界
can
を
change
変え
the
ること
world.
だってできるんだ
I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to the base and grind Niaso until I passed out from exhaustion. I wanted to leer at Seiraton figure and watch Bloodtune on an endless loop. That's all I ever wanted, so why?
タッキー早く逃げて
Taki, run!
私がずっと一
I'll
緒
stay
にい
with
て
you
あげる
forever.
私だけが
I'm the only
タッキーの味
person in
方
the
なの
world who's on your side. So, let's go home. Cut off all contact with the 3D world and just live to have fun. No, then. I think we've talked enough. It's time for you to begin your quest. First, go somewhere you can get a good look at Scramble Crossing. You have to run. It's really going to kill you. Did you not hear me? I said go somewhere you can look down on Scramble Crossing. His voice was soft, but incredibly cold. And there was a sharpness to it that made him impossible to disobey. What do you want? My legs were shaking, and I couldn't move. I wrapped my arms around myself and hugged tight. Should I do what he said, or not? I didn't have it in me to even decide. You're not going to do what I tell you? If you don't, I can't guarantee what will happen to Nanami. She's already dead. You know it. It's too late to save her. She'll just die for no reason. Let me hear her voice. I squeaked out the words, but Shogun ignored me. There's no reason for me to do that. You should think a little more about the situation you're in. I didn't want to think about the chance that Nanami was dead. I didn't want to imagine her dead. It felt like if I imagined it, it might really happen. I gave in and moved somewhere where I could look down on Scramble Crossing. The ground around my feet was dark. It felt like I might trip if I wasn't careful. There's a clear acrylic board on the side of the roof facing Scramble Crossing, acting as a wall. It was about 3 stories high. When I got close to the wall, I could hear the chaos below me. There was a female voice that seemed much louder than the others. It was the one coming from the big TV. There's an open space in the wall. Do you see it? I looked at the wall, wiping away the heavy sweat on my forehead. He was right. There was a hole big enough for a single person to pass through. It was a strange shape, like it had been smashed open. Someone had clearly done it deliberately. Of course, there was nothing on the other side. It was a sheer drop-off an 8-story building. Peek out and say hello to the crowd below. Huh? What did he just say? Do I need to tell you again? Lean out from the hole and wave to the people. You couldn't mean. See? He's going to kill you. I gulped. Is that how he made 5 people jump to their deaths? Seitan was right after all. I had no choice left but to die. I had to jump. No. If you don't, Nanami will die. If you do, you'll die. What was I supposed to do? I tried to think of my best option, but with every thought I had, the worst case scenario came to me in the form of a delusion. Somebody save me. Brother, you jerk. Nanami's voice echoed in my panicked ears. Hehehe, jerk. I could see her smiling in my mind. It was my fault. Nanami had nothing to do with any of this. But Shogun had kidnapped her because of me, and even cut off her arm. I'm sorry, Nanami. I'm sorry. I wiped the tears away. They came back, and I wiped them away again. And then, with blurry vision, I slowly walked toward the hole, and gingerly peered out over the edge. There was a sudden cheer below me. It was so loud. It sounded like an earthquake. A big crowd in front of the station, and the media too. We were all here for some event that was about to start. Suddenly, a bright light assaulted me. I narrowed my eyes and looked away. You could see the big TV on the next building over, and the person on it was... me. Huh? Me. The big TV showed me with my face covered in tears, and my mouth wide open like an idiot. Even my posture looked terrible. At first, I thought I was seeing things. And then, I thought that somebody was secretly recording. I even thought that maybe it was an image that Shogun was stealing from my mind. And finally, I realized that it was a video of me being taken right this very moment. There was text in large letters running across the bottom of the screen. Live from Shibuya Station, the amazing psychic boy. More text was scrolling beneath it. An emergency live appearance of a psychic boy personally vouched for by Yuri Brightman, the greatest psychic of the 21st century. Will he use his powers to find the new Gen killer? Finally, I understood. The media and the gawkers in Scramble Crossing were all looking, not me. Don't look at me. Oh boy. Definitely want a bad delusion here, right? Why are they all looking at me? Psychic boy? What the heck? Didn't they all know what had happened today? There was an earthquake. It was intensity 5 earthquake. Over 100 people died. So why were they all getting excited over a weird loser like me? Shogun. Shogun must have brought them all here. They're all being mind controlled. I remembered how I'd seen Ayase fall this afternoon. In front of this huge crowd with all of Japan watching on live TV and everyone waiting to see what I would say. I would be forced to jump. And there'd be nobody left to tell the truth. Dead men tell no tales. The psychic boy who tried to identify the new Gen killer turned out to be the killer himself. A shocking conclusion. What an incredible twist ending. They come up with a story about how I killed myself to atone for my crimes. But the new Gen murders would end up with a shocking video. My body would slam into the concrete, my limbs would twist at impossible angles, my brain would splatter out of my shattered skull out into the concrete, and the whole country would see it. Nothing less would satisfy the viewers. That's how entertainment worked. It was so simple. All I had to do was die. Then everyone else would be happy. Not just everyone else. I'd be happier that way too. If I died, I'd never have to suffer or be scared again. Time to kill myself. I should kill myself. I was gonna kill myself. I meant that too. It was just something I was saying. The answer was so simple. I suddenly felt so much better. And feeling better than I had in ages, I flung myself into the sky. The night sky around Shibuya Station spun, and fell. I could feel the wind on my whole body. It felt good. Look, everybody, I'm a bird. Bad end. Just kidding.
Ah,
No, he's dead.
バッカじゃないのこ
What a loser.
キモーい
What a creep. No. 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 I don't want to die. I was scared. I thought I would piss myself in fright. I never felt death so close. I thought I was going to pass out. Like a child having a tantrum. I don't want to die. Yeah, the fucking cheering. Still no me, daughter no me, man. I was crying and sobbing. I thought that maybe if I cried enough, Shogun would let me go. Maybe the crowd below would have sympathy come to help. Maybe the police should realize I wasn't the killer. Just a harmless, dorkly loser who come to save me. Maybe our parents were watching at home and they'd offer to take my place. Maybe Jimmy would appear out of nowhere to save me. Maybe I'd wake up and find out it was all just a dream. I shook my head desperately, screaming again and again that I didn't want to die. But take one step back, and Nanami will die. Oh, okay. Shogun's tone hadn't changed. You're already out on stage. And don't you think it's the perfect stage to awaken? All those people down below have the highest of hopes for you. If you betray them, they might start a riot. They might come to kill you. After hearing that, I couldn't step backward and even turn around. Forget him. He's just trying to scare you. Taki, Nanami's already dead. You could run away right now, and nobody would blame you. But I want you to focus on what you see. Shogun's voice was completely calm, but had a force behind it that brooked no disagreement. I only want you to do one thing. I can't jump. I died. Nobody asked you to jump. Huh? That wasn't what you wanted? And I didn't have to die? I want you to stand right where you are. And find your D-sword. Find my D-sword? How? I looked so hard for it and never even came close. How the hell was I supposed to find it here? The D-sword is a blade forged from delusions. That should be enough of a hint, right? No, I don't understand. Don't let him fool you, Taki. There's no such thing as the D-sword. There's no such thing as delusions becoming real. I can't find it. You made contact several times with people who had D-swords. Am I wrong? They would have told you how to find a D-sword. Think back to what they said. This sword controls fate. This sword is the convergence of sorrow. This sword allows us to interact with the higher plane. Another space, you might say. Another possibility that exists within our dimension. Or perhaps a delusion. What you call it doesn't matter. The one thing that's certain is this sword exists in this space. One day, I just had it. I did not notice at first. But it changed the way I looked at things, and I understood. Maybe you can already see it. You just don't. Doubt the world. Learn how it works. Is what you're seeing truly real? It's possible to turn delusions into reality. You slip something that's not real into everyone's vision. In other words, you make people think that the error is real. That's right. You've been given many hints. You should be able to see it already. Down there, in the scene unfolding below you. So, he'd hidden the D-sword somewhere in front of me. He wanted me to find it. If I find it, will you let me go?
見つけるだけじゃ
If you don't
クエ
find
スト
it,
クリ
you
ア
won't be able to clear the quest.
実際に
You need to
剣を
get
手
the
に入れ
sword,
るんだその場から一
and
歩
while
も動いちゃ
following
な
the
らない
rules too.
っていうルールを
Don't take
破らない
another
ように
step back. That was impossible. I was supposed to get the sword without being able to move from up here. But it still can't even want me to do.
だからあいつ
He's
は
just
無理難
asking you
題
to do the impossible so we'll have an excuse to kill
結
you.
局タッキーを殺したいだけなんだって。
それができないなら
If you can't do that, then Nanami is as good as dead.
逃げようタッキー。
Let's run away,
お家に
okay?
帰ろう。
Taki? Let's go home. But if I take a single step back, he'll kill Nanami.
だから
Listen to me.
ナナミ
Nanami's
たちがどうせ殺されない
already
なら
as good as dead. He said he wouldn't hurt her.
あいつの言葉を信じ
Can
る
you
の
believe him?
嘘ついてるかも
He
しれない
might be
よ。
lying. I looked carefully at the scene in front of me. Lights made it hard to see anything far away. I tried to look at my surroundings as much as I could, but there wasn't much I could see from here. Most everything was hidden by the buildings around me. I had to find it, the sword.
無理だよ。
It's impossible! I thought back to what Ayase and Sana had said. What did they mean?
でも
But I changed the way I looked at things, and I
分
understood.
かった本当じゃないものが
You
景
slipped
色に
something
紛れ
that's not real into everyone's vision. And then, I thought back to the patterns on the ceiling of my room back on my parents' place. I always looked up at them when I was trying to go to sleep. I thought to myself that the knots in the wood kind of looked like a human face. And once I started to see a face there, I couldn't see it as anything else but a face. Right, right. Your eyes playing tricks on you. There are knots like that in every piece of wood. That's right. This wasn't like a pattern in a piece of wood.
切り取るんだ
Cut it out. Shogun's voice was still calm as a whisper.
剣が見えたなら
When you see the
そこ
sword,
から切り取る
cut it out. You have that
それ
power.
ができる
What's he even talking about? He's just making crap up.
妄想は
It's possible to turn delusions into reality. Like that flower bed? Like the second second Ayase? But the last time I tried to create a real D-sword out of my delusions by using the fake one, it hadn't worked. Because Remy stopped you. I turned my head from left to right. I looked out at everything I could see from where I was standing. I saw a sword. Uh-huh. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna make a save over here. But yeah, I don't know. I think we kind of agree that there's definitely some fuckery on screen, right? So yes, sword. I saw a sword, clearly. Clearly? I mean, I guess clearly is kind of accurate enough. It's not like it's not I don't know. I feel like yes is you call it more of a lance, to be honest. It's a D-sword, don't worry about it. I'll go with yes though. If I could move from here, I could go get it. I mean, yeah, if we could move, we could go yoink it. I'm disappointed in you. God damn it. I was pushed from behind. Hard. At some point, someone had gotten behind me. He hadn't noticed them at all. It wasn't Shogun. He hadn't heard the creaking sound of the wheelchair. Then who was it? That night sky around Shibuya Station spun and spun. I fell. I could feel the wind on my whole body. The ground got closer. I could hear screams. No, cheers. Coming from the people around me. What was this? Was this the end? Was my life over? No. No, 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 no. Yeah, okay. So that was wrong. Glad I saved. Hooray for sending. I don't know about that one. Okay, I'm gonna try again before I look at the guide, because I do have a guide. I want to go with yes still, but no for clearly. Because it keeps changing when we get to the question zooming up. So I'm gonna go with no with it being clear. I only kind of saw a sword. Yes. I could see the sword someplace that wasn't here too. Fuck. Yes and no? I could see the sword someplace that wasn't here too. I'm just gonna do another savey save here just because, I feel inclined to say yes. God damn it. You can't get me, Shogun. No. It's not actually a sword. I'll overwrite this save. Because I only have the 8 saves, so I can't do this for every question. But I'm not confident of how to answer this one. I mean, Spooky did say you'd call it more of a lance, and I do kind of agree with that. But would the game agree with that is the different question. I'll go with yes and see what happens. It's not actually a sword. Okay. That's different. I think we'll survive this time. I saw it. It's a funky looking toothpick with an eyeball. Like, what's her face sword is less of a sword and more of a series of serrations. Yeah. As I looked out into the night, the light warping and twisting through the tears in my eyes, I found a spot that looked like a sword. Yes, I was right. I hadn't noticed it at first, but when I changed the way I looked at things, suddenly it was there. I didn't care if it was just a coincidence or not. The more I started to see it as a sword, the more it contrasted with its surroundings. Finally, it became more and more real, standing out against the sea around it. Even its outlines were gradually becoming clear. You found it, didn't you? Shogun must have noticed my shock, because he spoke almost immediately. Now reach out and cut out the sword. Don't think about it too hard. I know you can do it. It's impossible. Don't, Taki. If you do that, you'll fall. And if you fall, you'll die. People die when they're killed. I looked below. The crowd below me was huge. The ambulances weren't here yet. It was just like this afternoon. They were too slow. Of course they were. The earthquake this afternoon had been devastating. I can't cut it out. Don't let your preconceived notions control you. If you start by thinking you can't do it, you'll never be able to do anything. Throw away common sense and see things as they are. You have the power. The world will answer it. Like it did with the flower bed. Could I really do that? Could I really get the sword just by reaching out? Maybe it was worth a try. I also had said the D-sword would save me. Maybe this is what she was talking about. I could get the sword to finish the quest. Nanami would come back alive and Shogun would leave me alone. I could go back to my normal, peaceful life. You think you could just get a D-sword and go back to your normal life? Yeah, right, buddy. Do you really think it'll be that easy? Do you think Shogun will just let you go? I think he would, but he's not going back to a normal life after this. He's killed 10 people. Shogun wouldn't try to make me do the impossible. I could do this. That's why he was telling me to do it, because he knew I could. He just wants you to kill you. Did you forget about the group dive video? Shogun drove 5 kids to their death without even touching them. I hated to disobey Seida-tan, but still, I reached out to the sword, as if seeking salvation. The people below gasped. Thousands of people in the packed crossing below were watching my every move. If you included the people watching on TV, there might be millions or tens of millions. I felt like I was going to throw up. The pressure of having so many people watching me threatened to shatter my mind like glass. Don't think about it. Think about it. You won't be able to move. For now. Focus on the sword. I reached out from where I stood, keeping a close eye on my footing. I focused on the sword and tried to grab it. I couldn't touch it. The wind was blowing hard. It was coming at me randomly too. One moment, it would blow from the front, and the next it would slam into my body from the side. I was grabbing onto the acrylic board, but it was so slippery that it wasn't doing much more than making me feel a little better. If I had the slightest lapse in concentration, I'd fall off. Still, I tried desperately to grab the sword, and no matter how many times I tried, it didn't work. I can't do it. It's not a real sword. The tears came back. My vision blurred again, and the faint sword-like thing I'd seen a moment ago began to dissolve. I quickly wiped away the tears. I felt like if I lost sight of it, I'd never find it again. Then reach out farther. Damn it. Didn't you know how dangerous this was? I bit my lip and held back my tears. I reached out further than before. I still couldn't grab it. More. If I fell here. I looked down again. I was higher up than I thought. I felt like I was going to get dizzy. I pulled back and clung to the acrylic board. What's wrong? Get the sword, now. And if you don't, you'll never see Nanami again. I shouldn't have looked down. I couldn't stop shaking. I was worried the shaking would make me slip. I was completely terrified. I can't do it. Please let me go. It's not a smart idea to try to waste my time. I'm not here to play games with you. Get the D-sword. And if you can't do that, your little sister will die. And so will you. That's all there is to it. No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Once again, I stretched out my arm from the hole. I could see the sword was still. I tried again and again, but it was no good. It was so close. Why couldn't I reach it? I leaned out further, stretched out my whole body, and reached my hand toward the sword. I even stretched my fingers as far as they would go, and slowly punched my hand. Once again, nothing. I can't reach it. It's impossible. Sayada-san right. Oops. Sayada-san was right. That sword was half invincible. There's no way to even grab it. It only looked like it was normal size because it was so far away. It had to be incredibly huge. No human could hold a sword that size. Once you have the sword, the quest will be over. But I'll fall. Can't reach it. Then you want to save Nanami? Don't hurt me. Please. Just let me go. I don't want to die. Remember what happened this afternoon. With your power, if you fall, you can just create another flower bed. You can fall and not die. Are you confident you can do that? Sayada-tan whispered to me mischievously. Confident? It wouldn't even take 3 seconds for you to hit the ground. You'd have 3 seconds to make another flower bed appear. Could you do that? How long would it take for him to fall from 8 stories? You've never been able to use that power deliberately, right? Oh, I hate that our run is to do all the bad delusions, because this is not going to be a fun time, I'm sure. That's right. Even if I did have that power, I didn't know how to use it. Let's run away, okay? You did great. But you can't stay here anymore. You don't want to die, right? But none of me. Alright, I'll just come out and say it. Who cares if Nanami dies? Huh? Is Nanami's life more important than yours? Nanami's my little sister. I care about her. But in the end, she's not you, right? If she dies, it'll be sad. But that's it. Would it hurt you in any way? No. Between your own life and somebody else's, this is more important. If you die, the world ends. Your world ends. Do you understand? Once you're dead, there's nothing. There's no afterlife, no heaven, no being reborn. All that happens is that the life of the animal called Taki terminates, and Taki ceases to be able to observe the world. That's the same as the world ending, right? Maybe chuck Sayada into the crowd at this point. Yeah, that's fair. So, what I'm saying is... Sarah, with all due respect, you're an anime figure. If you die, you won't be able to observe Nanami anymore. So she'll disappear anyway. Not just Nanami too. Mimi, Yase, and me. We'll all disappear. But if Nanami dies and you're alive, you won't disappear. And your world won't either. You'll get to see the last episode of Bloodtoon. You'll get the Bloodtoon game when it comes out next year. You can even buy my new figures too. Okay, Taki? Do you want to die? Or not? I don't want to die. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to die. I don't want to disappear. I don't care at all what happens to Nanami. I kept whispering the words, as if I was trying to make myself believe them. There's one person here who was right, and it was Shogun. It wasn't Shogun, it was Sayada-tan. That sword. It looks like a sword, but it's not. It's a reflection of the light. It's my eyes playing tricks. That's right.
さあ
Now
帰ろう
let's go home.
帰ったらさ私の
When you
パ
get
ン見
home,
ながら
I'll let
い
you
っ
stare
ぱい
at
エ
my
ッチなこと
panties and
想
have
像
all
していい
kinds of
から
naughty delusions. Yeah.
僕帰
I'm
る
going home.
帰って
I'm going to go
セーラ
home.
が
I'm
泣
too
かがする
complicated though. Oh boy.
嬉しいな
That makes me so happy.
タッキーのためにエ
I'll
ッ
make
チ
all
なポ
kinds
ー
of
ズ
naughty
たくさん
poses
し
for
てあげる
you.
ね
Okay. I slowly pulled back my hand. Just doing so made me feel so much better. I took the Seidaton figure out of my pocket. I stared at her smile. If Seidaton was okay with what I was doing, that was all that mattered. I wiped the snot off from my nose. I turned around and walked towards Shogun.
誰が動いていいと
I
許可
told you
した
that you could move.
クエストは
You
ま
haven't
だ
finished
クリ
your
アしてい
quest.
ないぞ。
僕は
I'm not
勇者なんか
a
じゃない
hero.
妹一人
I'm just
救え
a
ないような
loser.
下手れな
The creepy
妹だよ
otaku who can't even save his sister.
僕に期待し
Don't
ない
have
で
any hopes for me.
僕を見ないで
Don't look at me.
僕をそっと
Just
し
leave
て
me
おいて
alone.
ではナナミちゃんは殺す
I'll
こ
have
と
to
に
kill
する。
Nanami then.
どうせ
She's already
Boy,
dead
she
anyway.
did.
She was already dead. Shogun had killed her in some horrible way. It'll probably be the top story on the news tomorrow. The 6th Ryugen case. It was sad, but he couldn't do anything about it. Brother. Brother. I heard what sounded like dripping water, but it wasn't water. It was Nanami's blood. It was bright red blood dripping from her severed wrist.
なんで
Why?
助けて
Didn't you save
なか
me,
ったの鬼
brother?
鬼って
Brother, you're
最低
the worst. There we go. I screamed. Takumi.exe has rebooted. Successfully restarted program.
よくもよくも
Damn you, damn you, damn you! Damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you! The whole world turned red. My mind went blank with rage, sorrow, and helplessness. And I charged it into Shogun at full speed. I grabbed the figure hidden in the shadows. But my hands passed through thin air. And I collapsed onto the wheelchair. It must have hit my elbow because it was stinging from the pain. And I went and looked for the person in the wheelchair. There was a severed head rolling at my feet. Trembling, I picked it up off the ground. It was very hard. I realized quickly that it wasn't a severed head at all. It was some kind of helmet.
これ
This is a black helmet. That's
ダーススパイダー
I mean, I guess that they're both Disney properties now, so Darth Spider. And that's how the chapter ends. Sick. Love that. Darth Spider. No further explanation. That's all we get. Cool. Love that for us. And the next chapter is called Psychopath, so that's exciting too. Yeah, cool. Darth Spider. This game sometimes, you know? Yeah, Darth Spider, alright. That's... 10 out of 10. Beautiful ending. Darth Spider. Any and all thoughts that I had about, like, what happened in this chapter is gone because Darth Spider. I genuinely have nothing. Darth Spooter. Yeah, so Darth Spider. I finally have a raid message. You guys just spam Darth Spider. Yeah, that's the raid message. We finally have one. Don't add context. Don't. Not allowed. Just raid message Darth Spider. Yes, just like that. Perfect. You get it, Spooky. That's the raid message. Yeah. And if he asks, once again, you're not allowed to give him context. But yeah, that's it. Okay. Do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior Darth Spider? Oh god. Anyways. Yeah. Yep, that's it. Okay, goodbye, Darth Spider.